Hello and welcome to about 30 minutes of prenatal yoga focused on easing the aches and the pains in the hips and the low back. I think that's something everyone can use a little bit of, but especially during pregnancy. So I am here to help you. My name is Kristin and I'm really glad you are here. For our practice, I would encourage you to find things around your house that look similar to these. So I have 2 yoga blocks. If you don't have one, grab maybe 2 water bottles, 2 books, 2 shoe boxes, that will work, and a blanket, and something that resembles a bolster pillow. You could even roll up a blanket or find something in your house, maybe a couple bed pillows or a couch pillow would work just great. So we'll have those at the ready. And we are going to begin our practice in a comfortable seat. Now during pregnancy, it's really important when you are in a seated position, it eases the pain in the hips a little bit and lengthens the uterine ligaments if you tilt the pelvis forward. And to do that, we're going to sit on the edge of our blanket here. And I'm actually going to roll it up a few times, so it's maybe about 4 inches or so up. You could sit on a pillow as well. And I am just going to take my hips, my seat, to the edge of that. So you'll see that my hips are a little bit below the knees. Pelvis is tilted a little bit forward. So we create a little bit more length here. You can always take a bigger pillow, and then you'll have a little bit more of an angle of hips above the knees. Let's take a big deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Excellent. Breath is your most important tool throughout your practice, throughout your pregnancy, throughout labor and delivery. So I encourage you to remind yourself gently and kindly that you have control over your inhales and exhales. So that's really important to remember. We'll begin our practice by bringing our left hand to our heart space and your right hand to your baby. Take control of your breath here. We'll lengthen our inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth, let it go. Good. Breathe in. Send the breath all the way to your baby and breathe out. Good. As we inhale, feel the chest and the belly expand. And as we exhale, feel it soften. Wonderful. Let's take one more breath together. In through the nose. And out through the mouth. Bring your hands down to your thighs, and we're just going to start to imagine our spine as a giant stir stick in a pot of soup, or maybe a milkshake or something, whatever sounds good to you. And we'll be stirring this up. You might make these circles pretty small, or you might really exaggerate and take these circles nice and big. And you might notice if you're in the 2nd or 3rd trimester and belly is getting in the way, that might be when you make these circles a little bit smaller. Switch directions if you have not already. And you might linger here. Lingering, opening up into the side body feels good in my body. Maybe a little bit of back and forth movement. One thing that is really important, secondary to breath, equally as important, is listening to your body. So what feels good in my body right now? I encourage you to ask yourself that question repeatedly throughout this practice. Good. We'll align with a nice tall spine here, shoulders over hips. We'll take the left hand down at the side, right arm reaches. So we think about when not only our low back and hips are tight, I want you to think about the areas surrounding those parts of our body that we could find space and length to further open into those kind of really tricky, tense spots. So here we're opening into the right side body. The spaces in between the ribs, the obliques, working into the psoas, all of that ties into hips and low back as well. Good. Float that hand down and we'll reach with the left arm. Forgot to say this on the first side, but if you notice your left butt cheek lifting up, I want you to glue it down, good. That really helps us focus from the hip joint to the fingertips in opening. Good, and envisioning as we create space in our body, we're creating space for our growing baby. Excellent, float that hand down. What we're going to do here is maybe scoot forward just a little bit. Bring the feet to the mat. Hands pointing the same direction as the toes, they'll come behind you. I want you to focus on your bra line up here. So we'll draw the shoulder blades together behind us. Lift the heart, lift the gaze. Good. Feel this really, really great opening into the chest. This is a great stretch to take throughout your pregnancy. Great stretch to take postpartum when you're feeding, whether it be bottle or breast, however you feed your baby. This stretch, remember it. Good. We'll come out of this and we are going to make our way to a tabletop position. So hands and knees. If you have tender wrists or tender knees, feel free to open up your blanket and give yourself a little bit of extra support. I'm going to do that as it helps you see my knees and my hands with my black pants. So we're going to start in a tabletop position here, and this might feel like a really good position, especially if you're in the third trimester. It'll take the weight of baby off of the low back. So find a comfortable space here. If your wrists are really tender, you can certainly come down onto your forearms. That's a great place to be as well. So we're going to start from a neutral tabletop. And what does that mean? It means that we have a nice flat back. We're not finding an arch in our back here. We've got a flat back. And we are going to take a full breath in here together. As you exhale, I'll encourage you, round your spine to the sky, hug baby up and in, and take your gaze down at baby. Good. As we inhale, come back to neutral, and you'll notice a little bit of tilting forward and back of the pelvis. Good. We'll take that one more time. As you take your next exhale, round over baby, hug baby up and in. We're pushing the floor away, so we're creating some space in the mid to upper back here. Good. Come back to neutral. Play around with that for a little bit. You might come from tabletop to cat pose. You might take some big circles. You can take some sways side to side. All of these movements should really help you feel a bit more open in the low back and the hips. Good. We want to avoid, I mentioned this a little bit before, avoiding the low back drop or back bend. So when we take a back bend, if you think about a big back bend here, we're opening, exposing the front of the body. So your abdominal muscles will separate as your pregnancy progresses. It's called diastasis recti. It happens. It's okay. But we want to avoid any movements in our yoga practice that would further exacerbate that separation of the abdominal muscles. So that's why we move from tabletop to our cat pose versus what you would find in a traditional yoga class where you'd go from cow pose, which is the back bend front body opener, to cat pose. So feel free to message us if you have any questions on that. Good. What we're going to do here is come down onto our forearms, and we'll take some hip openers here. So I'm grounding into my right knee, and I'm going to take some circles with the left hip here. You might extend the leg, circle it forward, circle it back. Good. And then we're going to take the left foot straight back behind. Tuck the toes down onto your mat and find this active push, like we're reaching the heel back. So you'll find a great stretch into the calf, a little bit into the hamstring, into the Achilles, which is where the heel connects into the calf. Good. Bring that knee in. You've got it. Let's take that off to the other side. So some nice big hip circles with the right knee this time, grounding into the left knee. And we're down on forearms just to give our wrists a little bit of a break. Good. All right, send the right toes back, tuck them down onto your mat, and find an active push. You can see in my body here, not necessarily moving, but I'm using my forearms to push my right heel back towards the very back of my mat. Great job. Let's bring our right knee back to meet the left. Back to tabletop. We'll take some collective breath and movement here. As we inhale, start at a tabletop, that neutral spine. Once again, inhale, stay. As we exhale, round the spine, gaze at your baby, push the floor away. Good, back to neutral. One more time, exhale, round. Good, maybe a little hip sway, a little hip shimmy here. Great. Let's come to find whatever you found in your house that resembles these two yoga blocks. We're going to bring them towards the top of our mat and a little bit off to the right. So we're going to help our left foot. And you can take it to the upper left-hand corner, or you can maybe even go a little bit wider. You'll notice, rule of thumb always in our prenatal yoga classes is you want to leave enough room for your baby. So especially if you're in the third trimester, you don't want to take a more narrow stance here. Your belly's going to run into your thigh. So wider stance, room for baby to make sure that we're not impeding baby's home. So that's why we're going to take a nice wide stance. And I think it just feels good. So we'll rock forward into this lunge. You'll see my right knee is back a little bit in space. That will help open up into the front of the right thigh, into the uterine ligaments on the right side, the hip flexor on the right side. So we're leaning forward into this. And as we exhale, we're going to shift the hips back, flex the left toes up towards the sky. So we're moving in between this low lunge variation and a half split or calf stretch variation. Excellent work. Take that 2 more times. Blocks are good just to bring the floor a little closer to you. Good, last one here. Good, come back here, rebending into the left knee. And maybe you shift the blocks down or bring your hands down to the mat. Bring the left knee back to meet the right. And we'll just take a breath here. Maybe tabletop. You might invite your first child's pose in. That means your knees spread wide. Again, leave room for baby here. So if you've got a bigger baby belly, make room. Good. And you can come onto forearms here. If it feels okay for you, you might bring your forehead all the way down towards the mat. If you need a little bit more space, stack a block underneath the forehead, or you could bring your bolster, pillow, or blanket in underneath as well. Good. Let's take one breath here. Soften as you exhale. Wonderful job. Let's come back to tabletop. And this time we're going to bring our right foot forward. So we're going to shift our blocks kind of up into the left side of the mat. Again, that leaves room for your baby. Right foot comes on up. And you might notice we're starting here with my left hip over my left knee. I'm going to scoot that left knee back just a little bit. You might keep the left knee in, or you might scoot it back depending on how this feels in the front of the thigh, into the psoas and hip flexor. So we bring it forward to our lunge and back. You can kind of walk the blocks along for the ride to our calf stretch. Good. Walk it forward. And each side might feel really different. So it's okay to kind of question and wonder why things might feel really tight on one side. One thing about our yoga practice is it helps us find that notice without judgment. So do your best to find kindness and gratitude for your body, your baby, and just try to notice those aches and pains. And we, again, use our breath as a tool to send our breath to those spaces that are feeling really tight or feelings of discomfort. Good. Next time your right knee is over your right ankle, we will either come to bring hands to mat. Excellent. Bring your right knee back to meet your left and just find some sways side to side. Maybe you take another cat pose, rounding spine up and over, baby. Good. And then coming back to neutral. Let's take one more child's pose here. Big toes come towards one another, knees come wide. Maybe you bring a block underneath your forehead. And we sink the hips back towards the heels. This is a great way to bring a little bit of compression into the hip joints to release junk, to release tension. And we also find a slight rounding of the low back, which is really nice to let go of some of that low back pain. If this does not feel good, you can stay in a tabletop. You know your body best. Good. Let's take one more breath together here. As we inhale, we will come up to tabletop here. And we are going to come to a seat. Again, actually, before I sit down, if you chose to unroll your blanket, let's roll it back up and give our hips a little bit of elevation here. So we sit on the very edge. And we're going to take a wide leg fold. So this is where I encourage you to reach for your bolster, maybe your blocks, and notice you might kind of take your hand underneath your glute muscles, your strong glutes, and just so you can feel the base of your pelvis really connect with the blanket or pillow or whatever you're sitting on. And again, you'll notice that the pelvis is tilted forward just ever so slightly. And what are we doing with all this stuff in between? So we are giving ourselves some support. So when we hinge in this wide leg forward fold, it's a lot of tension on the hamstrings and the low back to not give your body any support. So here's what we're going to do is, so it will be different for everyone. What I'm going to do is just bring my head down. So I'm giving myself some support. I'm still giving a gentle stretch to my hamstrings and my low back. So when you are pregnant, you stay here in your wide leg forward fold. When you are pregnant, there's a hormone in your body called relaxin, and it is made to open up your joints and your ligaments to make space to birth a baby. So with that being said, having relaxin in your body also makes you maybe a little bit more loosey-goosey or flexible than you might be otherwise. So that's why it's important to not stretch too far and to bring in props into our practice. So I'm a huge lover of props. So you might get lots of pillows, blocks. If you have actual bolster pillows, great, the more the merrier. So that's my theory on props, the more the merrier. So if you're in a position, another great choice, if you're feeling like baby belly is kind of running into the props, is to set yourself up, maybe leaning onto the edge of a chair. If you've got like a dining chair or something that you could lean yourself onto, or a bolster, whatever works, just giving yourself some support. So we'll stay here for maybe about 3 to 4 more cycles of breath. And you might notice the more time you spend in this position, the deeper you feel like you can go. I encourage you to be mindful about not stretching too far, of just getting to that very edge of loosening into the hamstrings. Take awareness what's going on with your toes. Were you gripping the jaw? Release any tension. And we'll take one more breath here together. Inhaling through your nose. And exhale through the mouth. Let's lift the torso as we exhale. Good. And I'm going to move all the goods out of the way here. What we are going to do now is take a single leg forward fold. So I'm going to keep my left leg extended. I've got my right knee bent and my right foot into the inside of the left thigh, and I'm mirroring you at home. So we'll be on the same side. And we're going to take another side body opener, but also hamstring lengthener. So what we're going to do, the leg that's extended, I encourage you just gently twist away just a little bit. So we're going to twist towards the right knee, and we'll take the left arm down towards the extended left leg. Right arm reaches up and over. And it's okay. I mean, you'll see how far my fingers are from my toes. You don't need to touch your toes. What we're doing is, again, opening into the side body, creating some space in our body, basically for baby to occupy, but hopefully in a more comfortable way. Good. And you might take your gaze down at the thigh. You might take it straight ahead or up at the fingertips. What feels best for your neck? One more breath here. Stay for your exhalation. Pay attention to your right hand now. That's the arm up in the sky. Good. We'll bring our right hand behind us. I've got my plants a little close by here. So right hand will plant behind you. And I want you to ground into your right shin. So push down into the right shin and the left heel. And we lift the hips. This is called wild thing. Reach the left fingertips behind. Lifting baby, lifting heart. Excellent job. Let's float everything back down. Hips come to the edge of our blinky here. And we'll take that off to the other side. Left foot comes to the inside of your right leg. We'll grow really, really tall here. And now I want you to take that little bit of a gentle twist towards the left knee that is bent. And right arm comes down to the inside or resting on top of the right leg, and left arm reaches. Breathe well into this left side body space. Notice what sensations you're feeling along the back side of the right leg. Reminding yourself to use your breath as a tool to open into the body, to clear the thoughts in the mind. Good, one more breath. Then we get to come to my favorite wild thing. Excellent. Left hand plants behind you. Now we're grounding into right heel and left shin. Lift, push down to lift the hips. Reach the right hand, behind you. Lots of length, lots of space. Excellent. Bring your hips back down. We're going to take the soles of the feet together. Here for a moment, bring your left hand to your heart and your right hand to your baby. Drop your chin to your chest, and we find gratitude. If this is really tight into your hips, scoot the feet away a little bit. Make the little diamond shape a little bit bigger. If you want a bigger hip opening, scoot the feet closer to the pelvis. Good. Breathe well here. As we inhale, we feel the chest and our baby rise with our breath. As we exhale, we feel everything soften. Good. One more full breath in. And exhale to let go. We are nearing the end of our practice. So I would love for you to grab your pillow, bolster, whatever you have that looks like that. And we are going to set one block up on the tall setting, one block on the medium setting. So if you don't have yoga blocks at home, that's okay. Find something. You could take another little stack of pillows. We're going to create a little ramp here. So this is to recline to keep our head above the heart. If you have any tailbone pain, I would encourage you to bring, there we go, blanket. What we're going to do, I'm going to show you a safe way to get down either to your back or side lying position. I want you to go sideways. So again, we want to make sure if we were to do this to recline onto the bolster, that's a lot of intra-abdominal pressure. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come to our bolster sideways. We are going to slide our way down and then roll to this incline position. Super job. All right, what we're going to do is find a figure 4 for our hips. We're going to start by keeping our right foot on the mat and help your left ankle just above the right knee. Take the left hand to the left knee, give it a little gentle nudge pushing away from you. Flex the left foot. Good, and then you might just bring your hands to your baby, your arms down at your sides. If you're looking for a little more chest opener, let the arms come out to the sides, palms to the sky. And this should feel pretty good. If it's really tender into the glute on the left side, scoot your right foot away from you. The closer the right foot is to the pelvis, the deeper that stretches into the left hip. Good, we'll take one more breath here. Help your left foot back to meet your right. Take your palms down, and what we'll do is take the knees and windshield wiper back and forth, back and forth. Good, we'll take that off to the other side. So this time left foot plants, right ankle crosses up and over. Flex your right foot, take your right hand to your right knee and give it a little gentle nudge. Good. Take about 3 to 4 more breaths here. Noticing as you start to calm your body, does your mind start to wander? If you're at the point in your pregnancy where you're feeling your baby move, when you start to find stillness, does your baby start to find movement? Again, we just bring that notice to our practice. Good. Let's take 2 more breaths here. One more breath in and one more breath out. Good. Bring the foot down to the mat. Let's windshield wiper those knees back and forth and back and forth. And we hopefully are in a comfortable position for our final rest. You might extend your legs long. If you're still looking for a bit of a hip opener, take the soles of the feet together and let the knees open up wide. That's a great choice too. If you don't want to extend your legs long or come to this butterfly position, you can plant your feet on the mat and rest your knees against one another. That's a really great way to let the femur bone, the femur head, kind of come back into the hip joint in a nice, safe way. And for this final rest, you might bring hands to your baby. You might choose to take your arms out nice and wide, or just rest your hands down on the earth next to you. It's really important to take a few moments at the end of our practice to find gratitude for our breath and our movement and our baby and our health. So taking a few moments in stillness allows our body to reap the benefits of this movement practice. You can certainly stay in this reclined position. If you're ready to move on with the rest of your day or evening, I'll invite you to kind of reverse the way you got down. You'll roll onto your side, gently use your strength to push your way up to a seat. And we will close our practice with our left hand to our heart, right hand to your baby, with such gratitude for our ability to move and to breathe together. We'll take one final collective breath. Good. Nice big inhale through the nose. Big exhale through the mouth. Thank you so much for tuning in.